Hi, my name is Kim O'Hara, and I am definitely a writer. It's so intoxicating, right? This idea of writing a book and putting all your words down on the pages for them to be printed in infamy and to possibly consider winning a Pulitzer Prize or even a New York Times bestseller. Or maybe you want to just leave a legacy for your children, or you want to capture all those stories of your elders. You know, not everybody wants to be a writer. Not everybody wants to write a book. But I'll tell you, when that calling comes knocking, it's not something you can ignore. It will get louder and louder. And there's times I've sat at my writing desk and I've thought, do I even bring value? Like, is what I'm doing valuable? A lot of writers think what they're doing is valueless. And that's because it's all been in your head for so long. You haven't actually pushed it out and put it out into the world and seen that, for your gender, for your race, for, whatever cause that you feel is so unique to you, that you have a specific perspective on that you want to put out into the world. Whatever that is, let it drive you forward into the writing chair. Let it drive you forward into believing that you have the right and the calling to write a book. I understand how hard it is to put our hearts out there on the page. I have been vulnerable many times. I've seen many people be vulnerable with their books. And there's that fear that, what are people going to think about me? And when I was in college, I wrote a short story on suicide and it won an award. And I was immediately horrified. I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to align me with suicide. And then later in life, I wrote a book about abuse. And again, I was like, oh my God, what are people going to think about me? And then I discovered that all the stories I've written and those particular stories helped so many people along the way who didn't have a voice, who couldn't write about what I was willing to write about. And that's the key. When we're writers and we're willing, we're able to break down any barrier that is in our way to get that story out and to tell that story about our family. If you're from a disenfranchised community, or you're from, you're Latina or you're Black or you're Asian, women that are Latina, Black, or Asian have not been represented fully enough in literature. If you think about our history of literature in this country, it is very, very young. We have so much more to talk about, and we have so much more to say, and so many more voices need to come out onto the page and share our histories and our challenges and our triumphs. Because as writers, it's our responsibility. I mean, it's true. I hate to take away the romance of it. Writing can be romantic, yes, but it's really like a daily rigor of being in a belief system. So one of those barriers that people use against themselves as writers is, I feel I'm not qualified, right? That's one way to hold you back from achieving your dreams. So what does that mean? I feel like I'm not qualified. Well, it could be I don't have an MFA from a fancy writing college. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't have an MFA from a fancy writing college, and I help people write books all day long, every day. Or people think, I have never really written a book. Well, you don't write a book until you actually write a book. So you're a first-time author. Great. And then you'll be a second-time author. The way that gets solved, the way that we overcome the barrier of disbelief, the way that we shut out all the critics in our head that are part of the imposter syndrome, oh, I'm an imposter, I don't belong here, someone's gonna find out that I'm not really a writer. The way that we overcome that barrier is not rocket science. It's really simple. Just write, and write in a structure and a container. So what does that mean? That means you outline your book. That means that you write on that outline into your drafts every week. You write your first draft, you write your second draft. The rigor of the work and the commitment will just shut down those critics. I've seen it again and again. Writers just finally say, you know what? I'm too busy to hear what you have to say about me right now. I've got a book to write and I've got things to do. So I wouldn't, I even went back to writing at 45 years old in my first writing class, I had been screenwriting. So I went back to traditional writing, and I was in a freshman class called American Novel. I had no idea what I was doing. I got my papers back all redlined, but I didn't let that stop me. I saw that as part of the journey, because this is a journey as writers. So another thing I want to touch upon in terms of, I said this already in the beginning, in terms of, women, like Latina women, Black women, or people that come from families that hold on to secrets, is there's a lot of like fear that you're going to like tell your family's secrets, and that you're going to, never be invited to the barbecue again, or you're going to get, all your family members not talking to you anymore. And I can assure you, the process of writing a book is so long, and it goes through so many phases of exploration, that oftentimes that story you might have included about, Uncle Al, or even your sister, you might not even need anymore, because the goal of writing books is, what can I do for the reader, right? So first it's for me, like I'm going to get this story outside of me. I'm going to put it on paper. I'm going to, feel the vulnerable feelings that come with that. And then I'm going to show the reader how to access those parts of themselves that I know how to show them to access, because they're not going to be able to write that book. Only I'm going to be able to write that book. So when you start to put it on that platform and realize the higher calling, you can be less concerned in the various drafts and in the process of writing about those family members that you think you're going to upset, or that you're going to, write a book that people are going to think is ridiculous. You need focus and faith. This is how you overcome this barrier in the writing process. The writing process is an incredible, magical ride that takes you through all these ups and downs of your narrative and your story. And a lot of times I say to writers, just trust the journey, right? Just trust the journey, because as you go through it, you're going to see a whole different future that you never even expected to find. There's another barrier that comes up, and that's time. We all struggle with time. We don't have enough time. People come to me, I really want to write a book. This is something I've dreamed of for 20 years. It's now or never, but I've got the job, and I've got the family, and I've got the this, and I said, look, when you put your time into a book that you've probably spent 1,000 hours thinking about, you could have written 6 books by now, time opens up like a vortex. It's really fascinating to see, because you start to realize who you are, where you came from, what you've created, what you've done, what you believe in, and what you've said. And you start to see the parts of your life that no longer align, and you start not spending time talking to that particular friend, or maybe you don't want to go to that particular group anymore, or you realize that you are actually a different person and like to do different things. It's such an exploration that time sort of opens up for you and gives you more time to write your book and to sit in that chair and to be committed to this process that you've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And so the next time you are somewhere, you're, on the subway, or you're driving your car, or you're in the shower, or your kid's baseball game, and you get a fire, like the idea that is your book calling you. Do not ignore that idea, right? When you run home, open your laptop, start writing down that idea, and don't get consumed by social media notifications, or, that you have to do the laundry, or that you forgot to call back your mom. Give yourself the time to sit in that fire and in that passion, because that is your calling. Being a writer, what writing a book truly means is owning your space as a writer, sitting in it, and then allowing all the book magic to unfold and happen.